BlackRock's Director of Digital Assets, Maxwell Stein, is set to speak at Ripple Swell 2025, which is taking place in November. We're going to come back and discuss more about this and how this could be bigger than a lot of people are anticipating. I'm going to share my personal thoughts with you guys, but welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel, to the XRP family. Appreciate you guys as always. Let's take a look at what's happening with the market. So of course you guys know what has been happening over the course of the last 24 hours. We've seen quite a bit of red across the market. You can pretty much see everything seems to be down about 7 to 10%, depending on which coin you're looking at. XRP is down about 7.3% in USD comparative over the last 24 hours. But if you're looking at the last 1 hour, though, we have seen some upside for the crypto market, which is nice to see, of course. But when I pull out the charts, we'll kind of discuss a little bit more as to what really is happening. But the price of XRP, let's give it a refresh live right now. It is at $2.93, down 7.4% as mentioned in USD, and down about 5% in Bitcoin comparative. If you're looking at the valuation, 173.7 billion, and the 24-hour trading volume at about $8 billion. But before we get into any further, as always, just a quick disclaimer: anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So BTC is pushing back towards the upside right now. We're going to sitting at 115,200, but just literally 30 minutes ago we were sitting at about 114,300, and since then we have seen BTC see quite a big push towards the upside. Remember, we're starting off a brand new month, and usually at the monthly close, you do tend to see some volatility. But of course, the tariff announcements have started to come again. I know the market, and I've shared my personal thoughts with you guys on the tariff situation before. I think the market doesn't really care about that specific announcement anymore, because of course a lot of resolution is happening with a lot of countries. But we did see Trump coming out and saying that Canada's tariff is going to be increased from 25% to 35%. So that's something that we need to factor in as well. But yeah, do let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. But we're going to come back to the charts. Let's continue to talk about what's happening. So $400 billion was liquidated from the crypto market in the past 4 hours. Sorry, 400 million, not 400 billion. $400 million, which is a crazy number. But take a look at this, guys. Smart money, smart money. We need to be focusing on this. So BlackRock's iShares Ethereum ETF saw its record monthly inflows in July with over $4 billion, marking the largest single month flow since launch. Since the launch of the ETF itself, we've never seen this much interest. What's happening here? Smart money accumulating, and this should be something that we don't really want to be neglecting. Smart money is focusing on ETH, which tells me that they're focusing on ETH to do well, and a lot of people are starting to focus on Ethereum protocols as well, because of course if ETH does good, Ethereum protocols are obviously going to benefit, and I think altcoins are also going to benefit based off of this, because ETH is a huge indicator when it comes to altcoin conversation. But speaking about this, look at this. Tom Lee says Wall Street will stake Ethereum to be involved in the enhancement of Ethereum as it moves to financialize the world onto blockchain. This is the difference between centralized finance and DeFi. They're slowly but surely bringing everything on chain, and we're going to kind of touch base on this a little later on in the update as well, actually right now. So you can see Paul Atkins unveils the Project Crypto, a commission-wide push to modernize securities rules and move U.S. financial markets on chain. Look, we are at the threshold of a new era in the history of our markets. As mentioned earlier today, I am announcing the launch of Project Crypto, a commission-wide initiative to modernize the security rules and regulation to enable America's financial markets to move on chain. Very interesting stuff. And on top of that, another comprehensive illustration of the tokenization opportunity. Real estate is $337 trillion market, digital bonds $314 trillion, investment funds about $155 trillion, and public equity at $123 trillion. We're already seeing examples of a bit of everything at this point, but most importantly, the real estate one that rings bell. Obviously, the Dubai example that I've shared with you guys, and when you put that into perspective, really makes you understand how big of a deal this really is. And on top of that, Robinhood documents the tokenization sites. The success of Ripple tokenization of RWA on the XRPL, hundreds of millions tokenized now, and hundreds of billions is to come now. Let's kind of go backtrack on what I was talking about. Ripple, Swell, BlackRock. So why is this such a big deal? Why are people really talking about this, you may ask? So right now we know that the ETF is not approved. ETFs are still in process, and the deadline is sometime late October. So late October is the deadline of the SEC to make a decision whether they're going to not approve it, or they're going to just say they're appealing, or whatever the case may be. They have until late October. So the exciting part here is, of course, a lot of speculation. And at the end of the day, what I'm doing is speculation as well. We don't really know what's going on. But the exciting thing here is we used to talk about how BlackRock is well aware of what Ripple is doing and what XRP as a native token is. And this kind of explains it. And this kind of shows you that, they're someone from BlackRock, the director of digital assets, is going to be talking at Ripple. So are there going to be some sort of a connection coming in place soon? Maybe maybe not even an ETF. What about tokenization? Remember, what about tokenization? Look at this right here. Robinhood documents that tokenization cites the success of Ripple's RWA, XRPL ledger. So is this where we're starting to see these puzzle pieces coming together? But on top of that, what if maybe sometime in August, or even in September, we hear an ETF filing from BlackRock? We know it's missing. We know it's missing from BlackRock and Fidelity, two of the largest AUMs out there by a margin. So of course, I've stated in my videos before that, that itself, the announcement itself of them filing it would be quite, a bullish announcement itself. So could they come sometime maybe this month, or September, to have this ETF filing to kind of come and compete with the competitors? Or is there something else? Do let me know in the comments down below, because if this were to happen, and on top of that we were to potentially see a rate cut, things can really get moving quite fast, and we could see something what we saw happen late last year. And I think we've already started to see a lot of those types of hints really occurring. If you've been focusing on the month of July, how fast the market boomed, how fast XRP exploded towards its all-time highs. Obviously not unofficial all-time high, but official all-time high. It actually did end up reaching it. So those are things that people tend to forget, but we need to kind of not forget that. And at the same time, it's not unrealistic. Things that we're discussing, we're speculating, but it's not an unrealistic speculation as well. Obviously, at the end of the day, time is going to tell as to what really happens. But do let me know your personal predictions down below. But look at this. Ripple was way ahead of its time. Although today reports by White House mentioned very little of anything Ripple, XRP, or RLUSD. They are very much in the game, very deep, in my opinion. I totally agree. These are one of the very few people, I would say company, that actually went to the financial industry. And in this video, it pretty much highlights that. They pretty much went into, when the crypto was still in the emerging phase, they went to the current financial industry and, showed them that your system is outdated. You need to be focusing on this. And in this video, this gentleman pretty much highlights, obviously is working at Ripple. Highlights, at that time, it was completely different. Blockchain was still in the early stages. So of course, when it comes to from the bank's perspective, now you got to kind of look at it from their perspective as well. They're kind of hesitant, but now as more and more are starting to research, and there's more in-depth knowledge and education out there, people are starting to understand, and this is why you're starting to see so much interest coming in. And on top of that, regulatory clarity, huge aspect as well. But with that said, let's take a look at what's really happening with the price here. Let's give it a refresh live in terms of the dominance and see what's happening. The dominance is still pushing up at 62% right now. So it has not slowed down, even though Bitcoin did see a push back above 115,000. Let me show you guys what happened with BTC on the hourly time frame, so you could really understand what I'm talking about. So Bitcoin actually went down to $114,155, but since then has seen a push towards the upside and made its way back above 115,000, which is good to see. But in terms of being out of the woods yet, just not too fast. We need to push back above 117,000. If it's able to do that, maybe we could have that conversation. But until then, I think we are still not out of the woods, but it is quite an interesting move that you want to keep in mind. And the reason why I am, more optimistic, I wouldn't say optimistic. The reason why I'm more confident that this we're still not out of the woods, yes, is because of the fact that we're still seeing the dominance, pushing towards the upside. But if you're looking at XRP right now, it is still. Let's actually give it a refresh live to see what is happening with XRP. So you could see for yourself, XRP's price is still at $2.93. We still have not retested back up to that $3 price point. Obviously, we do have significant amount of support where we currently are. But I would love to see the price, making its way back above the $3 range, which I think will happen very fast. But Bitcoin kind of needs to make up its mind. But it's only about a 2.47% move towards the upside. What if that does not happen? Where could we see XRP's price going down to? Right now the major key support line I would say is around the $2.80. Yeah, so $2.80 would be the next major support line for XRP if these levels don't hold. And if you want to put that into perspective, the $2.80 would be an additional move, about a 4.12% towards the downside. But again, don't forget what we have seen in such a short span of time for XRP. And right now, yes, it is seeing a retracement, which not a lot of people want to see, but we need to wake up and take a look at the broader market. We are seeing this pretty much market wide. But do let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. We'll see you later in Crypto ZX, and peace out.